Hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Hanging Out with Tammy. How are you all doing? Tammy Ajayi, and I've got the ladies, Liz, Greatness, and Heidi Suleiman. How are you doing down under?
It is down under here.
We're getting cold.
I'm in Sunshine Coast, on Suffolk Paradise. So we're enjoying the weather here in Queensland. So we don't know whether it's
that's
cold.
nice.
Is it terribly cold?
Can't you see? You make
But
sure you bring the weather with you.
I don't know why it will be so cold even though you are in the heater. Put the heater on, full blast.
It's the heater is only heating the feet, Tammy.
Suffer for Jesus. But,
How are you?
yeah, I'm getting there. It's a back to back to back to back.
Okay.
But in everything, in every situation, my Bible that I read said I should give thanks. We'll continue to give thanks. Of course, you all know that I lost my brother. People were still saying, sending their test entries and everything for the accident that I had, and I'm just barely getting over the accident, and then my brother hit. But there's always a but when you know who your father is, then you will remain standing because I serve a living God.
That's
It's,
right.
it's
That's right.
alive. Yeah, I serve a
I think
living God.
I think
And
the one day I remember the one day you said you don't know what tomorrow holds, but you know who holds your tomorrow. That was very beautiful and it becomes so relevant. I've heard that from you.
it is. I know who holds tomorrow. It's true.
That's right.
Because, Liz, sometimes we preach all these things, we read it, we talk about it, but we don't want to leave it. We don't want to leave it. We just say it. But it's good that you have that reservation, you have that foundation because you're gonna need it. You're gonna need it. And pulling through. We are pulling through.
Amen.
As a family, we are pulling through. And I will tell you now, one of the things that we just barely landed in Queensland when the news came, and yeah, we were truly shattered. And I need to tell you, my husband has never experienced this before. At least I experienced my brother 3 years ago. Experienced my mother 1990. I've been through that fire before. My husband has never been. This is the first time, and it was a big one. So we did. We're still doing it, but sorry, I need to just share a bit of my heart. What is keeping us going is that man. We call him Big Daddy Bishop.
That's
He's a bishop. That man was mysterious. Now we know. I mean, I've known him for almost 40 years. So he died at just barely almost 57. This month, 27th of this month, it will be 57. Okay, so when he was in the early 20s, like 20, he was already a big daddy. Have you seen any 20-year-old that is a big daddy before? He was a big daddy to all of us. And so we've honored him. We always respect him. And he mentored us. He will teach you. He will invest in you, Heidi. We went one time to Sydney and we were walking past and we saw the Aborigine. He sat with them. He will engage with you eye to eye and immerse and want to know about you. And he will go on a journey with fantastic man. And so that's what we've been talking about since yesterday. We had the family meeting yesterday, so it was awesome. And their children, his children was preaching to us. 18-year and 19-year-old were preaching to us. Please. They were telling us their dad was a man of God, a man of integrity, a mentor. These kids were talking. I was like, what? And they said, our daddy loved, served God every day of his life, especially the last year. Every day, he preaches, he ministers every single day. He was fully a bishop and fully a doctor. And I haven't got his message, but I will send his message. I want to do a show on him one of these days and bring his kids to come and talk to us. And his last words, everything we were just looking through, I'm like, wow, he's been giving us the sign. He's been talking to us. Why didn't we pick it up? Oh my gosh, that's what we've been saying. And there's a whole lot I can tell you, but we're fine. We're truly fine. He's just finished 2 books. He's written 2 books. He just finished, and he was going to publish them. And one of the books, he says, is finished. It was finished. So books are coming. You're gonna see it. You're gonna read it. So he's written everything, and then he left.
Mm.
It's crazy. It was like Jesus. No man, I've never, none of us is ever faulted him. Who does that? You fight other sisters and brothers, you even keep malice with them. This one, nobody has ever faulted him in the whole family. Not one. He's the one that will talk to us and bring us. So we just, it was in the light. It was never loose, it was never misbehaved. Who is that? It was never like lose his temper. So that gets me upset. Like, can you do something? Can you fight? Like, never. So our bishop was a light, and now he is the light. He's living in the light. He's now looking and shining his light on us, and he really wants us to be happy. He wants the best for everyone. He was my husband's mentor. My husband wants to be everything his brother, and we're grateful that he taught us his light shineth forever and ever. We've only just begun. He's not dead. You will know more about him. I really want to share all about him with the world, with all of you to know. And it was fantastic. So, where my husband said we're privileged to have had him in our family because he was a gem. So we're counting our blessings and just counting ourselves blessed to have had amazing. His children said yesterday he might have died at 57, but he's done something that 107 hasn't done. He did everything. He was the only one that will go to France and buy a house in France. And you will not even see in his face. There's no arrogancy. You wouldn't even know he's bought $1 million house. You will never ever know. What is this? We just asked. He said, "No, I saw it wasn't bad. It was just okay. It was in a nicer place. So, we just like really stop pretending here, But I can tell you about him from forever and ever. I've got his picture, so let me show you his picture in case. And the picture, I don't know what he was saying there.
Oh. Oh,
My big daddy, that was him.
yeah. I met him when he came. Was it 2018 when he was preaching at the conference?
You met him?
I did. Was it
Oh,
2018? Yeah, it was
2018.
2018.
Oh, you met Big Daddy.
Yeah, I did. When he came to the conference.
Wow. He's been in Australia like 4 times. He was here when my husband turned 40. 40 years ago, he was here when he was 50. He's come for the
Mm.
conference. He's come to visit. He
Oh,
just, he's always in our lives. Always in our lives. But he was, I'm glad he was, and he still is. That's the bishop for you. But
his
let's go.
legacy lives on.
Lives on. Lives on. I'm gonna go on a quick break, and this
Mm.
time I want to show us our new promo. Sit tight.
Mm.
Yeah. But on Hanging Out with Temi, as we say, we're very, very authentic. We bring you real story, real life.
This is the show to watch.
In the show, we bring in a lot of guest speakers that come and talk to us about their area of expertise, and we get to speak to them and ask them questions, address really sensitive topics, and come out with a message.
And somebody was asking, is it just about women? No, it's about men, it's about women, it's about children. We talk about professional, we talk even about stay-home mom, we talk about stay-home father, we talk about domestic violence, and it's just not the woman. Men are single fathers as well that we have. So these things, it just cuts across all borders.
We bring you topics that will empower you, topics that will help you grow.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Hanging Out with Temi, the talk show.
I love it. Amazing, amazing, beautiful.
Well done, ladies.
Yeah.
Congratulations. But today we've got an amazing topic that we have postponed because of my accident. And then Allison and Catherine, they're gracious, and they like, don't worry, we postpone it for another 2 weeks, and we'll be happy to join you. And today was suitable for both of them. So we're very honored by these amazing people that are going to talk to us about Salvation Army, about hardship, about domestic violence, and how Salvation Army is involved in this laudable organization that they're part of. So why wouldn't we get our
on
guests?
Hanging Out with Temi, as we say, we're very, very authentic. We bring you.
That's not what we want. We want to bring Alison on. Hi, Alison.
Hello, Alison.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Lieutenant Alison, by the way, we need to address you properly.
No,
And then
Alison is just fine.
you will tell us about that in a minute. And we've
Yeah.
got Captain Catherine that we're going to bring on. She's Hello, Catherine. I hope her internet is okay.
Yeah, because she was here earlier.
She was here earlier. How are you, Catherine? Hello. Hello, Catherine. Oh, she's here. Hello, can you hear us? Oh, wow. All right.
My internet is really bad. I'm so sorry.
Oh, it goes off. It's really bad. Oh, shame. We hope we'll be able to bring that back.
Mm.
Welcome, Alison, Lieutenant Alison Templar. I'm fascinated by that. Sorry. With the position, are you actually a military? Oh,
No, so the Salvation Army is, because we have the word army in our name, we use a lot of military
term.
words and terms, to describe various things. So when I was commissioned or ordained to become a minister, I was given the rank of lieutenant. Catherine now has the rank of captain, but we're not in the military, we're in the Salvation Army. We just use those words.
So, do you have the number of years that you have to be there to get the rank, though, or how do
Yes.
they allocate it?
So normally a lieutenant is somebody who, in their first 5 years of service as an officer, and then after 5 years you become a captain, and then 10 years after that you can become a major. So
Wow, unbelievable. Wow, welcome. So they said that the wife or the partner of a military is a military as well. So if you, for example, have a partner, will that person be a lieutenant as well? Is that
well, quite often in the Salvation Army, a person and their spouse, their husband or wife, is also an officer as well. So, but they don't both have to have the same rank. So, because it's based on their service, not their partners. So, if a married couple are both Salvation Army officers, each of them has their own rank. So,
okay? Fantastic. Welcome and thank you for allowing us to postpone these things and for being considerate to come on the show today. Alison, thank you for that.
I'm just really glad that you're okay, Tammy. So
I'm very
I was
much
a bit worried.
Yeah, I'm okay. Glory be to God that we serve.
Yes,
We got
thank
somebody
God.
that is looking after us, so we are unshakable. Indeed, we are unshakable. My battery is low. It's saying I'm plugging it. It's going to die. Please don't do this to me. Don't do this to me. It's plugged. Ladies, you wanna welcome Lieutenant for us?
Hi, Alison. How are you? Thank you so much for coming to the show. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here. I met Tammy a few months ago at a Rotary Club domestic violence forum, and we had a great chat. So it's great to be able to connect in this way.
Yeah, great. So have you seen our show before? Have you seen what we do?
I've logged in a few times and watched a little bit of it.
Awesome.
And yeah, it's
That's
fantastic.
so good. Yes, we just celebrated a whole year. So 1 year down
amazing.
and forever to go.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So it's great that we have technology that anybody can set up a forum like this and just communicate such important information. And thank you, Tammy, for kind of getting it all up and running.
Yes, thank you, Tammy, and thank you, Alison, for coming along. So I guess we'll get into the topic. We wanted to talk about this really sensitive topic issue, and something that happens all around us, which is domestic violence, and how does it affect us? Can I get your own definition of what is the difference between violence and abuse, please?
Between violence and abuse.
Sorry, 1 second, Alison.
Yeah.
We're gonna do what we normally do culturally. She's not gonna miss out. We normally have to play our music for you to calm you down. When we come back after that, then you're going to answer Heidi's question. We're gonna go on that quick break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. I can see Alison taking it. You see how that is refreshing?
Yes. It's giving me a bit of space, yeah. So,
Thank you
Heidi, you
so
asked about the difference between domestic violence or between violence and domestic abuse. Yes.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
I guess when we think of violence, we think of physical violence, like somebody hitting somebody or something like that. But abuse comes in a lot of different forms. There's emotional abuse, there's financial abuse, psychological abuse. So I guess abuse is a much wider term because it covers more than just physical violence. And not everybody who's not everybody who's caught up in a situation of domestic abuse will have bruises or there's all different types of behaviours and things to make the victim feel or to make the victim suffer. So it's a much broader term.
Thank you for that. Beautiful.
Okay, good. Go ahead, Tammy.
I was going to say that there is political abuse as well. That was new to me.
Yes.
Political abuse.
So what that's a new one to me. So what do you know about that, Tammy?
I was thinking that would be maybe you have a partner that is barring for the liberal and you are with the left side and you're
Yeah.
made to be on their side, otherwise you'll be downfall or something like that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Yeah, look, it's all different kinds of manipulation, and we're really blessed in Australia that each individual person can vote in the way they choose. But if you're being forced or manipulated into voting a different way or expressing different opinions to your own, then that is political abuse. Yeah.
Please, you've got it running.
Yeah, I wanted to say I have noticed that Salvation Army is a very, very big organization.
Yes.
Can you please just bring us in terms of the different services that you provide?
Okay, well, the first thing is that the Salvation Army is a Christian organisation. So as well as providing services and help to people, we're a church as well. So I'm an ordained minister of religion, as is Catherine. And the way that we express our faith is through providing service to people in need. And there's a whole range of different services that we offer. We offer services for people who are homeless, people caught in domestic violence, young people caught in addiction. I also work with a rehabilitation centre for women who are battling addiction, for example. We provide financial counselling and support, gambling counsellors, a whole range of different services. We also have a lot of services for children and youth who are caught in, who are experiencing poverty. And so we're able to kind of support them with staying at school and getting the help that they need to break the cycles that their families are in. It's a very wide-ranging service, and it changes all the time. Wherever there's a need that we think that we can step in and meet, we're able to mobilise and come in and meet those needs as much as we're able.
What was your experience with regards to the season that we are in terms of COVID protection, and now with the vaccination? How are you going with the people that are under your care?
Yes, well, that provided a huge challenge. Where I am in Brunswick, we have a social centre and a program that mainly deals with people who are homeless or addicts or that kind of thing. And one of the things that we do through that program is provide meals. 5 days a week. And when COVID hit, suddenly we couldn't have people come inside to sit down and have a meal with us anymore. And so we very quickly, as soon as lockdown started, had to suddenly switch from doing meals inside our centre to takeaway meals that people could just come and pick up. And so because, even though we're in lockdown, people still need to eat. And I just added it up the other week. And we did over 6,500 free takeaway meals for people in need from the start of lockdown to the end of last year. We also provided things like access to a shower. We had permission for people to come inside our building if they needed to have a shower. Because if you're homeless, it can be hard to find somewhere to have a shower and freshen up. We also have a laundry, so people could come and wash their clothes. And we got permission to still operate that as well. So we just had to do things slightly differently to make sure that people were socially distancing and able to do that safely. A lot of the people who we work with are just incredibly lonely people. And one of the things that was really important was just to give each person a phone call once a week and check in and say, how are you going? What can we help you with? What do you need? And just to be out for, if you're very lonely, just to know that on a Tuesday somebody's going to ring you and have a half-hour chat with you is a huge relief and something to look forward to. So things like that, we bring up somebody no matter what situation you're in. So we were able to continue doing that through lockdown as well. So, I think it was just really important that people felt connected and that we still cared for them and we're still interested in their lives and doing what we could to help them. Yeah.
That's very interesting because few times we've gone to feed the homeless before, and I noticed that they usually very clean. So I was wondering how the homeless and they clean. So I didn't know that there's an avenue for shower and laundry.
Yes, yeah. A lot of them would also just, and now that things are opening up again, would do things like go to a gym to have a shower as well, or they're quite resourceful. And so, but yeah, when all those things shut down, we were the only place around where somebody could easily just book in and get a shower because the other places like the local gymnasiums had shut down. So, yeah.
Catherine, please, can you talk to us about Williams and Catherine Boots, the founder? And also, I'm interested about the Darkest London, the East London story. That was really fascinating how they were. Yes, please talk to us about that.
So the Salvation Army was started over 150 years ago by a couple named William and Catherine Booth. And one of the things I love about this is that Catherine Booth was just as much a part of getting the church started as her husband William. At a time when there were no women preachers or ministers around, Catherine Booth was right up there at the front of starting the Salvation Army. So William Booth had previously been a minister in the Methodist Church, but had got very frustrated in East London how a lot of churches would not let the people who were struggling in. For a lot of people, church was a nice, respectable place to go. So you had to have clean clothes and you had to brush your hair and wash your face. And churches wouldn't let those, the people who were struggling in. And William Booth and Catherine Booth both said, these are the people who need God the most. So they started up the Salvation Army, and it first started by William Booth and Catherine just going to the local parks and gardens in East London and just preaching and saying, this is what the Bible says and this is what God believes, and he loves you just as much as he loves the other people, but he wants you to flourish and do your best. So that means providing meals and kitchens and hostels for people to live in. And when the Salvation Army first started in Australia, its first main program was a man who went to Pentridge Prison on a Friday when prisoners were released and said, what do you need? Come home and have dinner with me, and let's get you set up so that you have a decent life now that you're out of prison. So very simple and practical help. So,
literally what's in the Bible, huh?
yes, exactly. Love your neighbour as yourself, and just put it into practice.
Wow, amazing. This is amazing and wonderful. I remember I was listening to an Indian guru, okay, and he's obviously not Christian, but the thing is, he was saying like exactly what's in our Bible, and he said this. He said, when someone is hungry, you don't talk to them about God, you don't talk to them about their spirit, you don't talk to them about anything that is not going to talk to their pain. So first of all, address the pain, and then when they are well fed, they're well dressed, or you start to talk to them. Well, you know what? This is a beautiful God. God is the one that provided this for you. God is the one that's. I love this. I love this, Alison. This is such an amazing. I had no idea that the Salvation Army was actually Christian. I had no idea.
Lots of people know us as a charity, but that's what the salvation in our name is all about. It's about doing God's work. So, and very similar to what the gurus that you heard said, William Booth had a famous phrase where he said, first soup, then soap, then salvation. Unless somebody is hungry and clean, until you provide for that, you can't talk to them about God.
That's it. Yeah. Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that. Beautiful, amazing.
Now, I want to ask, looking at the big work that you do, we've seen that the budget was delivered just over last week. Do you think that your services have been incorporated in that budget, and are you at least going to get something from there?
I'll be honest and say I haven't really looked at what was in the budget. Most of our services at Brunswick are provided through people making donations to the Red Shield Appeal. So we don't get any government funding for what we do at Brunswick Salvation Army. So, it was good to see that some things were addressed in the budget around, aged care, which the Salvation Army also helps provide, and that. But I know one thing that really is of concern, that there wasn't a lot of money for social housing. I think I think the state government is going to be providing some money in their budget for Victoria that comes this week for social housing, but that is a huge need. The lack of affordable housing is such a big stress. I did see that there was some things around mental health in the budget, and that is really, really important, because most of the people who are struggling with homelessness or addiction have underlying mental health issues that until you fix that, the other problems are not going to be able to be resolved. So until they get adequate mental health treatment and support, they will remain homeless, or they will continue using. So mental health is really important. In terms of what funding comes directly to the Salvation Army, I'm not sure what's happening there, but things like mental health and social housing funding are really important for anything that we do to be able to work.
And of course, gender-based violence was also I mean, the funding for those programs was also in the budget. So is it by choice that you don't have funding from government, or what's the situation there?
So, well, I know other parts of the Salvation Army do get government funding. It's just a service that I work at, it's not by choice. It's we used to a few years ago get some funding towards our meals program, but as budgets got tighter, it dropped off. But we're resourceful. We do what we can, and the community supports us fantastically too. So we're really grateful to be able to still do what we do.
Yeah, that's good.
Tammy,
you're on mute.
You're on mute.
Oh,
where did she go?
She left.
Oh
That was quick.
I'm back. I was about to ask a question that you said something that you look after women and children. Do you care about men as well?
Yes, definitely. One of the programs that I know the Salvation Army offers is a program for perpetrators of domestic violence. So, which talks to them about what's happening when they're doing that and how can they modify what they're doing. Because unless you're talking with the perpetrator and getting them to stop doing what they're doing, nothing's going to be resolved.
Absolutely.
So there is a perpetrators program. Unfortunately, the waiting list for that program is very long. I think, Tammy, when we were speaking on Australia Day, I think it was like over 6 months, wasn't it? You had to wait. The perpetrators were on the waiting list for that program. So there is some work that happens in prisons once men have been jailed. There are some compulsory programs that they do while they're in prison. But if you're not in jail, it's very hard to access those programs. So.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very important that we do, programs with the perpetrators, as you say, because that's the easiest way to actually manage the ongoing violence against women and girls, really.
Yes, yeah. And a lot of men will move from one relationship to the next, and repeat the same behaviour until somebody steps in and breaks that cycle of behaviour, because they don't see in their head, they don't think they're doing the wrong thing. That's just how they think. That's just how they are, and they can't change. So, so they need those programs. Otherwise, they repeat that abuse over and over with each next relationship that they move into.
You are mute, Tammy.
Sorry, I'm trying to figure things out. Yeah. The question I was going to ask is, if someone is not an Australian citizen, do you still get involved in their affair? Or?
Yes. We do a lot of work with refugees and asylum seekers. For the Salvation Army, whoever comes in need is eligible for exactly the same thing. So whether you're a citizen or on a visa or whatever, we're here to help. So there's no distinction for us when people come to us in need.
Fantastic. Thank you. Before we go into the next question, we're going to go on a quick break and I'll be right back.
Okay.
On mute.
Tammy, you're on mute again.
Is this good?
That's good.
Okay, so I need to be on the phone because I'm not sure what is happening to my laptop, so I'm going on the phone now. Is that okay? I
That's
heard
beautiful.
what you said,
So,
Captain Alison, about the men being the perpetrator, but I've seen a lot of women being the perpetrators as well. How do we justify that?
So you're talking about women who are perpetrators of domestic violence as well?
Yes.
Yeah, we can't justify that. The issues are, there might be different circumstances and different issues, but violence is, and abuse is violence and abuse. And if it's a woman perpetrating it against a man, both of those people still need the same type of help as if it's a man perpetrating against a woman. I think, yeah, it's certainly, it happens. It's obviously a lot more common the other way around, but yeah, it definitely happens that women are the perpetrators as well, and they need help with that behaviour modification and the support that is offered to the men in the same way, and the men need the support with getting out of an abusive relationship just the same way that a woman would.
Alison, do you actually believe that there is enough help for these people?
No, it's so hard to access help. It can be really difficult for somebody in a situation, and I think it's come a long way in the last few years. Things like you can call 1-800-RESPECT if you're in a situation experiencing abuse, and get access to support. But there's not enough refuges for women and children to be able to go to. They need to leave the house. It's still really difficult sometimes for women even to be believed when they talk about the situation they're in. There's not enough training for people in schools or health services or things to be able to recognise the signs of domestic violence and be able to offer support. So I think there's a whole range of levels that still need extra support and funding to be able to work, to be able to support people in that situation effectively.
Yeah, and with COVID, have you noticed that there is more people under that threat?
Yes, I think. Now, if you just give me a second, I did have some statistics about what happened in COVID. Just give me 1 second. I'm just going to find them here. Just give me 1 sec.
Tammy, can we have that 1-minute video again of our anniversary?
Sorry, I've got it. So COVID was particularly difficult with lockdown because normally, often a woman who is in a situation like that would be able to go to work or go to the shops or go to the doctor, and be out in the community. With COVID, when you're suddenly locked in, you're in lockdown with your partner 24/7, or you're only allowed out for your hour a day or whatever. Suddenly all of those supports were, all of those ways of being free, able to get out of the house and to a safer situation, were suddenly taken away. It was much harder for women to access things like a domestic violence refuge. So I myself, I have a good friend who is living in a situation where her husband is sometimes violent, and she was terrified. She, and she actually was able to get an exemption to be able to go to her workplace during the day, even though the office had locked down, just to be able to be safe and out of the house, to be safe, so she wasn't staying at home with him 24 hours a day. And so, and I think there was something like a 20% increase in reports of domestic violence. So quite a huge jump suddenly in the incidences of it. I know the police kind of reported too that there were a lot more that they were having to respond to as well. So yeah, and also for children, quite often the teacher is the first person to pick up if there's violence in a home when the children come to school and might notice behavioural changes or injuries, that kind of thing. Because schooling was all online, that wasn't happening either. So teachers are often the first people to step into a situation and refer people to support when it's happening, and suddenly that wasn't working either. So COVID impacted in a really big way on domestic violence. So.
Alison, how long will you accommodate people for?
So there are different refuges that do different kind of things. So I'm connected to a refuge that just does a 1 week short-term kind of accommodation while they set the woman and the family up for longer term accommodation. So I know there are other refuges that are for longer stays as well. I think the refuge that I'm connected with says if we can get somebody into, because a refuge is lots of, a number of families all in trauma in the one place together, which can be further traumatising. So that refuge says if we can get somebody set up into ongoing accommodation somewhere else in their own little unit or house or flat, then it's going to be better, especially if there's children involved, because you haven't got everybody who's traumatised under the one roof, because that can just compound the trauma. But there's different refuges. Some will provide for 6 months. Others, like the one that I'm connected with, it's just a week to enable the family to get in somewhere that's more stable and longer term. So it varies depending on the needs of the clients.
Hardship. If someone is out of job, for example, have nobody at all, how do we refer them to you? And is that one of the things that you could help with as a Salvation Army? They used to work, but they're out of work. They got no one there on the street.
Yeah.
Do we just call through to you guys, and would you help in that situation?
We have what's called our Doorways program, where if somebody is out of work and needs support with things like food, vouchers to go shopping with, or that's a short-term quick response for somebody to help them get through an emergency situation, and that is by just ringing up a Salvation Army centre and saying, I need an appointment. Encourage your friend to make that call, because when we do provide emergency relief, there's a lot of we need to get some personal information about what their circumstance is so that we can figure out exactly what they need. And it's much easier if we're talking directly to the person. Even now that centres are reopening, I would say just come to a centre, bring that person along to a centre and say, I need help, what can you do to help? And we have fantastic emergency relief workers who will step in and who can firstly provide a food parcel or a voucher to go down to Woolworths to get some groceries or whatever. They can refer somebody to financial counselling or gambling counselling or whatever, if that's the issue. Connect them in with a housing service, whatever. So just make contact with wherever the nearest Salvation Army is. Not every centre offers every service, but they can always refer you to the nearest one that does. So we don't, at Brunswick, we don't offer a housing service, for example, but we can refer to the local housing service and support somebody to make a connection there. So we don't try and do everything for everybody because, if there's a housing agency just up the road that is an expert in that area, let them do that, but let us be the point that connects them to it.
I will let the lady ask if they've got any more questions, then I'll ask my final question.
Okay, I wanted to ask about the train the trainer, because I heard you said that particularly with the Perpetrators Program, the need is so big. Is there an opportunity for, training trainers so that at least you've got that support system as well?
I'm not directly connected to that program, so I'm not sure how that would.
Okay.
I'm not able to answer that one. Sorry.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
How about children, Alison? How do you deal with children? Do you send them to the, children's services, or do you actually associate yourself with children, like under abuse and under, if the mother or the father is under the alcohol, drugs, or anything like that?
So, where we are at Brunswick, we don't have a lot of children that come to our service simply because we have people who are often intoxicated or under the influence of drugs themselves. So not a lot of children come to our centre, but the last place that I worked at for the Salvation Army in Reservoir was specifically about working with children and teenagers whose families were in that situation of abuse and addiction, and a lot of those children had parents who were in and out of prison. A lot of those children lived with their grandparents or particularly their grandmothers, I should say, because their parents were not capable of caring for them. So at that centre, when I worked there, we worked almost solely with children and teenagers in that situation to just provide them with a safe, welcoming space and give them the skills to break that family cycle. And I'm still in touch with a number of the young people that I worked with through there, and they have, a lot of them have just broken that cycle of addiction. So, and if you're like 15 or 16 years old and your whole family has a long history of addiction and using substances, and you're the one who says no, just imagine how powerful but how difficult that is for that child. So we did a lot of great work with equipping them to break that cycle, and that work's still continuing. So different places do different things, and that was the work that I was doing at Reservoir there, and it was fantastic.
Yeah. I have one last question. I'm really curious because I know you work closely with these beautiful people, and I've always wondered, where do these people get money for drugs from? Because they're hardly affording to eat and to drink and to live somewhere like this. I've seen homeless people on drugs. I go only once a month. I go and I, just cook and I, give them food. And I do this only once a month. And I'm always wondering, where is this money coming from? Where do they buy it? How do they buy it?
Yeah. Just before I answer that, can I say not all homeless people are drug users too? So homelessness, and you might be interested to know that the largest growing sector of homelessness is women aged over 50 who suddenly have lost their job or been widowed or divorced and suddenly don't have a home. And so much of homelessness is what we say is invisible homelessness. It might be someone who's sleeping on their friend's couch or in a boarding house where they're not safe, or in their car. But to answer your question about the people with money for drugs, unfortunately, it's usually through crime. It might be through breaking and entering into somebody's house. Very sadly, a lot of the women are forced into prostitution to fund their habits. And often that is by an abusive partner who becomes their pimp. So, yeah, unfortunately, yeah, a lot of it is through crime, sometimes through begging. You'll often see people sitting on the street with the sign. But and a lot of them steal from their own families, which is particularly heartbreaking. I think if somebody who goes back to their elderly mother and father and steals from them, that's really terrible. But that's how the drugs affect their thinking. Normally, and I know lots of people who are now in recovery who have so many regrets for what they stole from their families, in particular, to feed their habit. So it's devastating.
Thank you for this. Thank you.
It's the noise. I don't want you to hear the background
Yeah.
noise. Yeah, but we're going to go on a quick break. We want to give you another opportunity to move your body. And
Thank you.
We're going to round up. So we go on a quick break. We'll be right back. But on Hanging Out with Temi, as we say, we're very, very authentic. We bring you real story, real life.
This is the show to watch.
In the show, we bring in a lot of guest speakers that come and talk to us about their area of expertise, and we get to speak to them and ask them questions, address really sensitive topics, and come out with a message.
And somebody was asking, is it just about women? No, it's about men, it's about women, it's about children. We talk about professional, we talk even about stay-home mom, we talk about stay-home father, we talk about domestic violence, and it's just not the woman. Men are single fathers as well that we have. So these things, it just cuts across all borders.
We bring you topics that will empower you, topics that will help you grow.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Hanging Out with Temi, the talk show. I can see that you, Alison, like that intro. Alison, I've got another question, sorry. With the children, do you place them, are you able to place them on individual families' homes? Like, can I, a short-term stay, can we do that? How do we assess that? That's my number one question.
So we don't provide foster care. Other agencies do that. That's not something that we're connected with. So, but there are lots of other agencies that are always looking for foster carers. And I would encourage you, if that's something you're interested in, there's a huge need. And particularly, it's so much better if children are placed in a family of their own culture. So would really encourage as broad a range of people, if you're interested in becoming a foster carer, to just Google foster care and find out where those services are, because if you can provide a child with that kind of care and stability, it's really important. So
fantastic. We're just going to finish up now, but how do we assess, how do we help you? What sort of help do your organization need from us?
I'm so glad you asked. This is the perfect time of year, because in the month of May, the Salvation Army has the Red Shield Appeal. So the timing for this talk is perfect. This is the time where we go out to people and say, can you please donate money or time or whatever you can to help us in the mission that we have. So if you, so there are you can donate to the Red Shield Appeal online. If you just Google Red Shield Appeal, you'll find out the link. And the great thing about the Red Shield Appeal, if you donate online, is the money, if you can select where you want that money to go. So if you said, I want that to go to Brunswick Salvation Army, or the Wyndham Salvation Army is where Catherine is from, you can nominate that on the website, and it will go to the place that you want it to go. So you will also probably see salvos in all your local shopping centres out rattling a tin. Throw some coins in. That will help. If you've got time to volunteer as a collector too, that would be a massive help as well. So just look for the Red Shield Appeal, and there are a number of ways that you can donate money and support. Around Christmas, we also have an appeal. At Brunswick, with that appeal, we tend more to ask for kind of donations of food to go into Christmas hampers for families. So we know that money is a bit short at Christmas time for a lot of families. So we say, just, when you're doing the shopping, if you could just buy an extra, packet of chips or an extra plum pudding or whatever, and quite often you'll see like a big collection box at a shopping centre so people can donate food. So there are lots of ways that you can support and donate. But the Red Shield Appeal is the number one at the moment. So
Thank you so much, Lieutenant Alison. We've heard you, and that is being documented. We're going to be reaching out definitely to you. Thank you so much for what you do for humanity and for your service, selfless service. We appreciate you. Unfortunately, we couldn't get Catherine on, but next time we're going to be seeing Catherine. So we're going to say goodbye for now. And until next time, we say thank you so much and welcome to Hanging Out with Temi. So tata for now.
thank you. I've had a wonderful time.
Bye.
Bye.